Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and I just want to take a few minutes and talk about a little bit of disappointment I have in motherboard manufacturers this time around over the last couple of years in concerns with Ryzen. I know that the AM4 platform is supposed to have a lot of longevity and everything to it. However, we aren't getting a whole lot in the way of good micro ATX support, and that in and of itself is really frustrating because I just recently built a micro ATX system to use as a daily driver, and I'm finding that there's not going to be a whole lot of options if I want to jump to a much higher end run without having to replace my motherboard as well as the processor. Currently running on a little Ryzen 3 1200, which again, a few years old, but I've got it in the ASRock B450M Pro 4 motherboard, and that's got all the capability and whatnot that it needs in order to bounce up to even potentially the recently announced Ryzen, B3950X, the 16-core 32-thread part that they just announced for $750. Theoretically, that's just a complete drop-in, and it's good to go. However, the motherboard only has what looks like a 6+3 power phase, which, even though it's rated for the 105 watt, I'm not sure how long it would last running that powerful of a part for that long. Granted, it is only 105 watt TDP, and the Ryzen 3 1200 that I have in there right now is a 65 watt part, and even overclocked to 4 gigahertz on all cores constant. I've never seen it under heavy load doing video rendering or gaming, anything like that will max it out to 100% across the board. I've never seen it tip past that 65 watt mark. So it looks like AMD is doing a lot better job than Intel in regards to actual power delivery, or rather sticking to what the advertised TDP is. But with that, there are, I believe, 2 X370 motherboards, micro ATX motherboards, available on Newegg still, and there are no X470 motherboards available on Newegg. They just didn't come out with any at all. And now there was one X570 motherboard shown at Computex last week, and it looks like a really solid board, should be able to do everything it needs to, but it was alone. It was the only micro ATX X570 board shown. And that's a little upsetting to me, because what AMD is doing, looks like they're doing now, is they're not going to be releasing any like B550 boards or anything like that. The B550 chipset doesn't really exist, apparently. It's just going to be X470 is the new B550. And I don't know how they're going to market that or what they're going to do for it. But that means with me being at a B450 already, I've got basically what would be the A520-ish board with the 50 series features. And just that alone is kind of pushing towards a little too much market fragmentation, in my opinion. Now, you do have ITX, mini ITX options, DTX options now for Ryzen on the X570. There were a number of those shown, but I'm not looking into paying that price premium for it. I like to stay as budget as humanly possible with my system, which is why I'm still running, where I just upgraded from an FX 8320 to a Ryzen 3 1200, and I only did that because the 8320 finally died after about 7 years of heavy use. So, and I've only got 8 gigs of RAM in right now. So I run as budget as humanly possible. I am looking to upgrade a whole lot further now that I'm doing a lot more with videos, and I'd like to actually maybe have a processor that can keep up with my video card for games, because even the Ryzen 3 1200 overclocked to 4 gigahertz can't quite keep up with my GTX 1070. But getting back to the motherboard side of things, I can probably be okay dropping the 3950X in and running it stock. I would not trust probably overclocking anything at all on it. as far as the 3950X is concerned. If I went with something like maybe the 3700X or the 3600X, I could probably get away with overclocking the 65 watt TDP parts. And those would probably do okay, but if I were to go and try to push the 105 watt TDP parts through and overclock them beyond what they're running safely or what they're running stock, then I'd probably run into some serious longevity issues with this board, and I only like to upgrade when I absolutely have to. And it seems like it's a little insulting, honestly, to the form factor to have that high of a market segment, because a lot of people run the micro ATX boards, not on the enthusiast side of things. That's basically just ATX, eATX, and mini ITX. So with that, you see a lot of fragmentation. The micro ATX is made for like OEMs and system builders and all that, and that's neither really here nor there. Sorry, actually, it's right here. That's what I'm talking about right now, is that needs to be something that gets addressed a little bit better. And I don't see a whole lot of reason why that has to continue to be the case. I do want to say good job to ASRock with what they've shown on the spec sheet and for the motherboard that they did have as a micro ATX at Computex, which was the X570M, I believe. Yeah, Pro 4. So it looks like a pretty solid, for the most part, enthusiast class board. I mean, it doesn't come with integrated Wi-Fi. However, it does come with the, that would be the Key M2 slot for an Intel Wi-Fi chip, so to plug right in and go for it. So it's still got two M.2 NVMe SSD slots. It does have two PCIe 4th gen full-size sockets on it, so you can still do a Crossfire. They didn't advertise anything for SLI, but you can do Crossfire support with it. So you could drop, if you wanted to go to just a full-blown smaller AMD build, you could get away with throwing a couple of the recently announced 5700Xs in, or XTs in, and run it alongside a 3950X if you wanted to, with, I think it's up to 64 or 128 gigs of supported RAM. So you could build a solid computer off of that for basically to do whatever you wanted to. Or if you wanted to just drop, say you could drop a 2080 Ti or a Titan RTX or something like that in it and still have that other PCIe slot where you could drop in, say, an Optane module or something of that sort, and just really be able to take advantage of those PCIe 4.0 speeds. I know Corsair, I believe, had one, or Crucial, one of the two had a PCIe 4.0 drive at Computex that got like 15 gigs a second read and write, which is mind-blowing because I'm still living on just original USB 3 and all of that. So those are speeds that I only dream of. So that looks like a solid board, and I wanted to say good job ASRock for actually taking the leap and going with that, even if it is just a smaller version of their X570 Pro 4 motherboard without the M. And there doesn't really seem to be any concessions between the two, and it's probably going to land maybe a little more expensive than the full-size ATX, but I don't think it'll cost as much as any of the X570 micro ATX boards. I think that's all I've got to say on that for right now, so if you liked it, go ahead. Well, actually, share what you thought. Share what you think down in the comments below. See if I'm right, see if, it's just a form factor that needs to die, or if it's relegated to just OEM PC builders, that type of thing, Dell, Optiplex type machines, that type of deal. Leave a comment with your thoughts down below. Like the video, subscribe, and I hope to see you here again for the next one.